So this chapter has a very unique gimmick to it, and it's these soldiers. These soldiers, and only the unpromoted soldiers, will try and burn these houses. If they reach a house, they'll set it on fire. Any of your units can extinguish the fire during the turn, but that will be their action, so they won't be able to attack or use items. So, any house that is not on fire at the end of the chapter is worth a lot of bonus experience. Any house that is on fire at the end of the chapter is worth a very small amount of bonus experience. And here is something that I actually didn't know until I practiced this chapter. If you leave the house on fire for too long, it will burn down. And yeah, it takes so long for that to happen, it's about 5 turns, that I legitimately didn't know this until I practiced this chapter. So you will want to put out the fire as soon as possible, but you don't have to put it out in 1 turn. It takes a long time for the houses to burn down. So I assume that a burned down house is worth nothing. And yes, it's only the soldiers that you have to worry about here, so I want to kill them off as fast as possible. And that's why I want Marsha to be getting to 1-rounding things, because she needs to fly up here and whack that guy before he sets some houses on fire. And I guess Khalil can go over here, because she's the only one who can climb this ledge. She will need to watch out for these sword masters, though, because they might have exactly enough speed to double her, which is a problem. There will be reinforcements from the start eventually as well. Now, we don't have any healers, but we do have this NPC Bishop, so you want to keep him alive, because he is your only healer besides healing items. And we also have a bunch of Crimean Knight NPCs. You can order them around with Joffrey if you want. So in this chapter, if you haven't trained Astrid or Makalov, they're likely to be very, very weak at this point and will just die to any of the enemies here. So I'm not going to deploy Astrid. I might deploy Makalov because he's still at least slightly competent. The enemies here are weaker than what we've been encountering with the Grail Mercenaries, but still decently powerful. The Crimean Knights are not looking anywhere near as overpowered as they looked back in Part 2, let's just say. We also have the boss here, Rourke. He has a spear, which annoyingly is not droppable, and a concoction, but there's no way we have to steal that, and he doesn't have any special skills or anything like that. Now, one other unique thing about this map is the hidden treasure. So there's a treasure right here on this space behind the boss, and this is a defeat boss chapter. So there are 2 ways to get this treasure. It's a spirit dust, by the way. 2 ways to get it. The first is to kill the boss with someone who can canto, and then canto onto this space and hope that you get it. Because it's a defeat boss map, you only get 1 shot if you use this method. Or you can have Marsha just fly and get to it, but can she even fly? She probably should be able to fly over these. You can just have Marsha fly over to that spot and just have her end her turn repeatedly and try and get it that way. So that's what I'll probably be trying. Before people pointed it out to me in comments, I didn't actually know this was possible. I thought that you were forced to use the Canto method, which you only have 1 shot at. So anyway, let's go save some villagers. I love that fanfare. Don't worry, this is not the last time we'll be hearing it. But this is Proud Fight again, and I think this is the last chapter where Proud Fight plays. I'm pretty sure it never plays again after this. So this is why I wanted some stronger weapons on Marsha here. And that is enough. I probably didn't need to trade the Great Lance over to her. So I leave this guy alive, he'll set the villagers on fire, and Marsha will have to waste time putting fires out instead of fighting things. Also on Glory's Wings again, and don't worry, this is not the last time we'll be hearing on Glory's Wings. It's hard for me to decide whether I like On Glory's Wings or The Devoted more. They're both really, really good songs, and I kind of like to put Marsha there so that Swordmasters can't jump up and attack her. I have seen Marsha get critical by a Swordmaster once before. And I hopefully won't see that again. Sometimes I like to just put Khalil down there to stop the Swordmasters from dropping down, but maybe, I kind of don't really want them fighting Makalov. But Makalov's not really going to be the most useful in the world running this way. He's not really doubling much, if anything. Joffrey and Kieran are still going to do the majority of the heavy lifting in this chapter. However, Joffrey is unlikely to be doubling a lot of things outside of his Brave Lance, which I'm going to have to use here, because I like to get Joffrey quickly through these enemies. But like I said in the last part, I don't really want Joffrey to be leveling up too much, because I actually find the next chapter easier if Joffrey is weak. And that's not something that you would normally want to happen, but yeah. Don't worry, it'll all make sense later. Oh, no critical. That's unfortunate. Now, see, Danvet is not hitting that hard in this one. And yeah, I intentionally didn't Kanto Joffrey to here, because then Kieran wouldn't be able to attack this guy. I could go for... No, this has at least a slight chance of one round killing. No critical. Kieran is still very, very useful here. This is about the point where if he's at least decently trained, or even in general, he does start to outclass Joffrey a little bit. Though Joffrey is still pretty good for this point. I mean, I could put a Shine Barrier there to stop the enemy from dropping down, but I don't know, I might want to save the Shine Barrier for something else. We'll see. And I like to leave these guys on roam for now, because if I put them on halt, then the bishop won't heal. You're the ones who are raiding our country and burning down villages if they don't give us stuff. Speaking of burning down villages, yeah, this is the main gimmick of the chapter that I was talking about. You really can't save that house from being set on fire, but thankfully, the house being set on fire once doesn't really mean anything, as long as you put the fire out at some points. So yeah, even though all the stuff in that house, like all the people's possessions, are probably burning right now, doesn't matter at all, as long as we put out the fire. The house will be scorched for the rest of the chapter, but it still counts as an intact house for the purposes of bonus experience. That's not the best, and that's really not the best. Yeah, we are starting to look a lot weaker than the enemies at this point. And yes, more fire starters will spawn as reinforcements. Something that I kind of like to do is to have these guys run over here and just block off this area. But let's see. Even though the fire starters are relatively weak and not worth a lot of experience, I like to prioritize killing them wherever possible. Unfortunately, you're not doing really the best job of killing them. Yeah, let's go for the Great Lance. As you can see, there are not a lot of cavalry enemies. In fact, at this point, I don't think there are any cavalry enemies, so the Horse Slayer is not going to be that useful. But yeah, like I said, prioritizing the fire starters is good. Nothing in the game tells you that only the soldiers can start fires, but it's obvious from watching how they behave. I think Nakalov could hit this guy once and then Kanto. And then Danbed could finish him off. Yeah, Nakalov is... If he's not trained, he's not really that great here, but he's at least better than nothing. And what I like to do here is, I like to block off the fire starters, sort of wall them off here. Don't worry, I will put that fire out, but I can afford to let it burn for at least a few more turns. Like I said, the houses take so long to burn down that, okay then, do I... I'm actually thinking of having Kieran whack someone and then... So I feel like the NPCs are going to get this guy. So I'm going to have Kieran whack this guy and then Kanto up to block the sniper. But yeah, these buildings take so long to burn down that I didn't know they could burn down until I was practicing this. Basically, Marsha couldn't one-round kill one of the enemies here, and then that house got set on fire, and then I left it for a while, and until... I don't like your crit rate, but... That's actually a much better hit rate than I expect with height penalty. And it actually hit, nice. Well, I mean, anything above 50 in true hit is higher than it appears, so I'm not really too surprised at that here. Probably best to have Marsha fly down here and then Silver Lance this guy, or even Silver Great Lance. Nah, just regular Silver Lance, and then fly back up, rather than go for height bonus. One of the few times that you don't want to go for height bonus. But yeah, actually, killing things with Paragon will give you a very good chunk of experience. And let me guess, you guys are... I didn't know that you could extinguish fires. That's actually really useful. Because it saves me having to do it. Now I can save my actions for more productive things. Are you serious? Wow. You do know that you could have physicked her from below that ledge, right? And not died to the Swordmaster, because that's what's going to happen. The Swordmaster's going to rip you to pieces. Seriously. Normally, AI in Fire Emblem, I'm glad when it's stupid, but... Yep, he's dead. That was really, really bad. I mean, like, there is a chance that I might have been able to prevent that, but I didn't expect him to jump up that ledge. He could have healed Marsha from down there. She was in the exact same position she was the last time he healed her. And he was standing below the ledge when he did that. So I have no idea why he decided to do that, but apparently that guy decided he had nothing left to live for. That was incredibly stupid. Okay, now Khalil is not going to be able to jump up 2 ledges. Now, does she get doubled by this sword mark? Yes, she does. That's not good. However, Marsha could weaken him. Or she could go for a crit. Now, let's just go for maximum damage, just to ensure that Khalil finishes him off. Because even though being doubled won't kill her, he does have a chance of critically. I'd appreciate strength. But at least more speed is kind of nice. Please tell me that Khalil finishes him off. Yeah, I am very glad that I used the Silver Lance there. Because if I used the Killer Lance and not got the critical, I still love Khalil's... I love the... I think that it's kind of ironic. In a game that has some of the worst mages statistically in the series, it's got some of my favorite, like, animations on mages in the series. That's decent, but I would have preferred magic. Yeah, I still think Khalil's probably the best fire magic user in the game, but she often gets overlooked because there is another, let's see, yeah, Makalov's a little bit boxed in right now. I'm actually going to go ahead and have Joffrey get this guy, and then Kanto back. Because if you can eliminate the soldiers, you don't need to worry about the buildings being set on fire. Joffrey is definitely a lot less invincible than he was earlier. And thankfully, cavalry can go into forest terrain in this game. Should I have Danved do it, or should I... I mean, I really want that sniper to go. Really want that sniper to be destroyed, but... I guess Kieran has a guaranteed 1-round kill on this soldier. I kind of want Kieran to be moving on to bigger and better things after this, though, because he has Paragon, and these soldiers are not worth a lot even with Paragon. And Kieran does grow into a very good, almost mounted armor. His speed's not great, but his strength and defense are really high. Okay, I would like a crit here. No. He's probably going to end up dying to the NPCs, though. So I wonder if, maybe after this turn, I'll set the NPCs to go down here. I like the well there in the side. A lot of the maps in this game have nice little details that don't affect the gameplay at all, but they add flavor. When I was editing 3.5, I realized there's actually a watchtower graphic on that map that doesn't do anything. It's just there for flavor, but it still looks kind of cool. I kind of want Makalov to not get shot by that sniper, so Makalov's going to go over here and use his and her. Yeah, and here we might see the difference between Killing Edges and Wood Owls, obviously. Killing Edges I find a lot better in this one, and it's usually the opposites. Usually the gimmick with Wood Owls is they're a lot, not a lot, but they're slightly weaker than Killing Edges, but they have a higher chance of criticaling. And they're usually class restricted. I mean, at least they're not class restricted in this one, but they're still a bit weak in this game, and yeah, unfortunately... Well, that's annoying. Kind of forgot there was a ledge there. Because I don't usually see enemies jump down that ledge. Yeah, Joffrey's taking a lot of damage in this one. At least we think we don't... you're going for the heal hedge, aren't you? And that's exactly why I wanted to get Khalil off there before these enemies came. The funny thing is that if you leave Khalil here, usually the enemies will just stupidly stay at the bottom of this ledge and she can just continue to snipe them for the rest of the chapter, which is pretty funny. Okay, the problem with that guy being there is Marsha does not want to be in range of that steel bow, for obvious reasons. So 5, and she has 9 movement, okay. Can I snipe you? No, I can't, okay. That's 6, and then 7, 8, 9, and then she's not out of range. Whereas if she does that, then she... Yeah, this is still kind of bad. Because that guy's probably going for the heal hedge. Not that we really need to worry about fighting enemies in this chapter. Because it is a defeat boss map, but I like to get as much experience as I can. So overall, this is a very strange chapter. It kind of comes out of nowhere, and gameplay-wise, it's very, very basic. But I understand why it's in the game. They needed a way to introduce the Crimean Knights back into the story, and if we skip from 3.8 straight to what you'll eventually see 3.10 is, it would definitely feel awkward, so I understand why there's a chapter here to bridge that gap, but from a gameplay standpoint, this chapter always felt a little bit out of place. I suppose it's appreciated if you're training any of the Crimean Knights, and if you want to bring them to endgame, but seeing as I'm not in this playthrough, it's a bit of an awkward chapter to play, because I don't particularly care about the experience any of my characters are getting, which is not something that you see, not a feeling that you have often in Fire Emblem. At least I get to show off Danbet a little bit more. I mean, he's not the greatest character in the world, but he has a decent-looking battle model. Right. You need to watch out for enemies that can drop down from those ledges, so... I think Nakalov's just going to hang back here for a bit, because if he stays there, then that sniper might try and shoot him from below, and then he won't be attacking Khalil. Speaking of Khalil, I think I'll just keep Khalil there. Now, what are you guys going to do? Poking that guy with your lances, which is probably fine. Healing. And I'm not entirely sure what you're doing. In fact, I might want to put you all on move to that corner. That's what I wanted you to do. I don't know if I double you. Part 3 generals are pretty fast. But I do, thankfully, and that gives Kieran a level up. That's kind of typical of him. Yeah, he's going straight for that heal hedge, I thought so. And yeah, this is why I said about these enemies being dumb and always going for Khalil, even though that ledge is there. And now she can finish this guy off. I was worried for a second because he's a sniper and they tend to have high hit rates, but obviously he did not have a high hit rate. 18 is pretty bad under true hit. Speaking of height bonuses, though, I have to watch out for that guy. In fact, I might want to lure that guy away so that Marsha, because he's pretty much blocking any decent progress Marsha can make on the upper front. Okay, Wudao is a little more accurate. I guess that's useful in this situation. I'm kind of surprised Makalov hasn't crit, but... I mean, considering his luck with gambling... And a speed win, which is... I guess that is nice. Yeah, the sniper can't reach that heal hedge because of this, this thing being in the way. Let me just check. Do any of you have... Yeah, one of you has a hand axe and can throw down So I don't really want to put Danbed there because it would lure some things in. Put Danbed there, though. And then I'd probably rather Kieran get experience than Joffrey at this point. So I'm actually going to go ahead and have Kieran hand axe to lure in some of the enemies up the top. I'm pretty sure there are reinforcements coming from the top area soon. Or they could be proximity triggered. It can be hard to tell sometimes. But yeah, Paragon is kind of putting in work for Kieran. I wanted to put in work for Marsha, but I need to lure this guy away before doing that. Joffrey is fully healed. You know what? I'm going to actually put Joffrey down here. And then do that just in case the sniper decides to attack. Marsha, I think she can just inch forward over there. And that general will be able to attack her. But considering that he would have been able to attack her, I think a few turns ago, and he hasn't yet, I can probably tell that he's not moving. He is following the Goldoa school of enemy AI. That will also all make sense later. Although I'm sure many of you already know what that is. Still healing. Okay, then. They do seem to be congregating around this side, though. Oh, right, he has a ranged weapon. That's why. Oh, and they're all kind of blocking off my avenue of attacking him in close range. That was lucky. And that's also a level up. Yeah, you deserve a level up for that. Pfft. Yeah, Joffrey is... He's virtually a Jagan. He's not, like, entirely a Jagan, but he kind of is. His growths aren't terrible, but they're not the best either. And he's incredibly good in 2-3, but after that, he tends to drop off a lot. Especially since his availability sucks, even by Crimean Knight standards. Because for some reason, after this chapter, he's not really also that guy's axe was phasing through the ground. After this chapter, he's not... What is it with me and missing 80s in this playthrough? I've missed a lot of 80s. Okay, 2 halberdiers from down there, rather than soldiers. Annoyingly, the hand axe guy can still get height bonus on Danbed, except he won't be able to do that if I... Although you can get height bonus on Danbed. Is Danbed at any risk of dying here? He might be if I'm not careful. And he can't even finish that guy off anyway. So, let's see. So first things first. Please tell me Marsha. Yes, Marsha does double. Nice. Unfortunately, the highest hit rate I have is that. Oh, I should have given Marsha the Wu Dao. I forgot. Sometimes I forget that Pegasus Knights can use swords. Because I'm used to a lot of Fire Emblems where I can't. Though in Fire Emblem 1, they use both swords and lances, even unpromoted, I believe. Which was interesting. But yeah, sometimes I just forget that Pegasus Knights use swords, but like, I really shouldn't be, because swords are essentially Tanith's signature weapon, even though that she's a Falcon Knight. So now that's gone, the skies are safe for Marsha up the top. And actually, wait, no, she's a little fragile. I might not want to tempt the general into attacking her. Meanwhile, Khalil just stays here and continues to attack down on the enemies. They're not really all that smart, those reinforcements. And then... There's 11. There's more enemies than I thought. Yeah, and we have a very small number of characters here. That's probably another reason why this chapter can be a little bit tricky sometimes. But it's not really that difficult, but it can be a little awkward, and it takes longer to do what you need to do thanks to your smaller pool of characters. Oh yay, another hand axe. Like I need more of those. Guess they didn't expect you to be buying that many hand axes in part 2. Yeah, Kieran's probably fine in terms of movement. Now, Joffrey might be at risk of taking a fair amount of damage here. It's not really... I mean, it'll hurt him quite a bit, but... Okay, please tell me that he has Kanto movement. Just barely. That was kind of close, actually. And that guy does have a wind edge, so I'm glad that I moved down there. Now, Makarov can... Yeah, Makarov will be in a bit of trouble if he goes there. However... Well, dang it. Makarov can't actually kill you. That's really unfortunate, actually, because now I need to block that. Hang on a second. I just realized something. I didn't want to have to use my light rune like this, but if I put the light rune there, then... Okay, so here's my train of thought here. If I don't block this guy somehow, Joffrey is going to die. Well, it's likely to die. But if I put Makarov here, and Makarov gets hit by this guy, the wind edge from above, and then this guy, Makarov will probably die. However... if I put a shine barrier there, then this warrior won't actually be able to get through it, and Joffrey is safe, and Makarov doesn't die. So, that hopefully works out. Yeah, see, as you can see, this guy can't pass through that space now. And it's really, it's just Danbed left, isn't it? 10... 13, so 36 overall, and I have to make sure Danbed does not attack anything on the player phase, otherwise he will die. Except you... I was going to say you guys are likely to kill that weakened one, but you're not because you're kind... What the heck are you doing? NPC AI sometimes just... It's really hard to understand. That guy's probably content to stay there. And the other guy is totally blocked, so Danbed only gets hit by one of them this turn. Has Danbed even been hit this entire chapter? I don't think so. I still can't believe that priest was an idiot. Okay, then. I love wind edges, but when they're on the enemy side, they are annoying to face. At least you get to see what a shine barrier does. They're kind of useful sometimes. I don't really remember ever using light runes very extensively in the GBA games. Well, I mean, they weren't even in Sacred Stones. I think they were only in the... In fact, they weren't even in FE6, I'm pretty sure. I think they were only in FE7. Then there were, of course, mines. Yeah, I knew there were reinforcements up there. Oh, right, yeah. I thought there would be another fire starter. And the problem is, Kieran is a little bit weakened. Now, here is the point where I could really use, you know, like, that bishop. But nope, that bishop decided he had nothing to live for. That was really stupid. However, 7 and 8... that's 15, isn't it? Yes, it is. So that leaves Kieran on 1 HP. So you had better not do 1 damage to him. You do more than 1 damage to him. Well, if you set one thing on fire, it's not the end of the world. I can just extinguish it. Because, yeah, I do want to send Kieran up here. The problem is that Kieran will also then have to, Yeah, and they don't even need to touch the door. They just have to touch any part of the house to counter setting it on fire. But even if you manage to set one house on fire, also I forgot how good Kieran's HP was, it should be alright. And yeah, light barriers. I mixed the names of the two. Shine barriers are impassable to you as well as the enemy, so bear that in mind. That can cause problems if you're not careful. I really want to do that, but I also want to have some method of counter-attacking you. Yeah, you can also drop down and do a pretty decent job of attacking me from up there. And that Swordmaster is probably just going to run one space forward and put himself into barbecue range. Let's just finish you off, because why not? What the heck is that other Crimean Knight doing who's going near where Joffrey is? really? Well, something's probably going to attack him and push him over the edge of that level up. Okay then, yeah, Joffrey, I think I'm going to have Joffrey go up here and, it's 19. I'd rather everyone here pile in on Kieran, actually. Nakalov at this point, yeah. Well, I mean, you know, we can move in forests with cavalry, but we're not exactly going to do a good job of it. Let's just send him down here, and let's not use the speed on Nakalov, because that would be really bad. I'm not planning on training him, so obviously I don't want to do that. But here... I suppose I could get Joffrey into position. Thankfully, the NPCs can't steal your concoctions. I think no, I'll go for the Killer Lance just to see if I can get a crit. Knowing me, the Swordmaster is going to be the one who crits me. Nope, I got the crit. Nice. And with that, I think I'll leave you in range of the General just to get an attack in on the enemy phase. Again, no strength. And this is why our transfer bonus Marsha is much more useful, because she's actually guaranteed to have a little bit of a strength lead. And she's very likely to get transfer bonuses to strength too. I have a feeling that one of the halberdiers is going to drop down. I'm really confused. This is just... What are you doing? Okay, yeah, I thought you'd do that, but... Now I have to extinguish that. And waste one of my precious actions doing so. Because obviously, if any of these houses burn down, I'm going to reset, but it's extremely unlikely to have them ever burn down. Dodge there. Now if I can get a crit here, even though it won't do very much. Nope. In fact, a crit with this is going to do about as much as just the Great Lance attacking normally. I kind of thought you'd do that, but I don't think Joffrey will double you. At least he's actually dodging now. It's kind of amazing the difference between how Joffrey performs here and back in 2-3, but the gimmick of 2-3 is that all the enemies... I knew that would happen sooner or later, that's why I put Danved down here. However, if I do this... Danved still won't kill you, but hopefully he criticals. No crit there. Crit there, good. So these guys are blocked, provided the NPCs... In fact, I might just order them to halt, just to guarantee that the second fire starter doesn't slip through. Yeah, fire starters is what I'm going to call them. So, Joffrey directs halts for now, because that means this guy is completely blocked. And they will still counterattack if they are attacked. Meanwhile, as I predicted, this guy's an idiot, so Khalil can just continue bombarding the enemy with spells from above. And I kind of want to use Joffrey to... Oh, you are in range of another house. Yeah, you need to go now. Yeah, something that I love about Kieran is that his skill is so high that he hits a lot... Well, I mean, axes have great hit rates in general, but... For some reason, Kieran tends to hit really often with axes, though he hasn't critical with the killer axe very often. Okay, so that's good. No more fire starter. I think I will force this guy to start attacking. Because he tends to not move until I think the boss gets attacked. As much as I really, really want to fight this guy, I think Joffrey has to be a hero here and put out the fire. Only Crimean knights can prevent village fires. I mean, the gimmick of this chapter is interesting. I'm surprised that it hasn't been done, really, in a Fire Emblem game before. Especially with, I mean, although bandits, you know, the thing with bandits is that they just instantly destroy villages, except in Fire Emblem 4, where they destroy them bit by bit. But yeah, this is kind of a good idea for, like, a bandit chapter, where you have to rush to villages before the enemy sets them on fire, and then if they do get set on fire, you have to put out the fires. You know, I actually forget if... Please tell me that you can't... Okay, good, I can attack Marsha. Oh, okay. For some reason I thought for a second that you would fail this if all of the villages burned down for some bizarre reason. Like, if for some bizarre reason you let that happen, because there's no way that's happening unless you're letting it happen. But no, it seems like it's just Joffrey dying. I guess what I was thinking of there is 1-8, where it's either a main character dying or all the prisoners dying. Don't think you have a ranged weapon to counter with. No, you don't. And yeah, didn't even run to get into a position to use your... Although maybe, would you drop your short spear if you're... Anyway, okay, well that's halberdiers, that's not soldiers, but anyway. If you're equipping the short spear, would you drop that? It's kind of the reverse of how things normally work, because normally in Fire Emblem, the enemy drops whatever item that they're not equipping. Except in the case of Mystery of the Emblem, where enemies literally have a clone inventory where they keep their droppable items. Which is actually kind of a good thing, because it means that, for example, like if you have Camus break the Gradivis as an enemy, he'll still drop it. I think he'll still drop it when he's playable, but... Oh yeah, and by the way, now I can safely have Marsha do this, and there's a Spirit Dust there. I probably won't get it, although you know what happens when I say I probably won't get a treasure. Also, she finally gets Adept, and it's pointless. So, she's had a very interesting time this chapter. She has leveled up twice out of it. And this area is getting extremely choked, but all I'm really concerned with is that the, I actually want to do this, because if I, by some chance, crit the Halberdiers too much with Danbed, he could potentially suffer death by awesomeness. The chances are very low, but I'm going to go for this anyway, because all I'm really concerned with is that the fire starters are gone, obviously. I guess Makalov could go for a crit here, even though if he does crit, it'll leave him on 1 HP exactly. Nope! Not really getting lucky with crits on my killer weapons in this chapter. However, if I stay there, there's a chance that you'll... Because you probably won't leave your heal hedge, because your AI is programmed to prioritize self-preservation. Which is almost alliteration, but not entirely. You know, I think I'll actually go for this, even though the chance of her missing at least one of these is very high. Oh, she... Actually, and it wouldn't have killed anyway. At least it's more damage. Yeah, I thought so. But she can try for another round on the enemy phase. I forget exactly what the turn requirement on this one is for maximum bonus experience, but I probably missed it by now. We're going to be getting a ton of it via the villagers, though. They're worth a lot if you save them. I still like the Serenade's Forest, yeah, the Serenade's Forest description of the bonus experience conditions for this. It's villagers burning is worth a certain amount, and then villagers not on fire, which sounds like something out of Homestar Runner, which I actually did watch a little bit in high school, early high school. You know, let me just quickly check something. I think this chapter might be the start of an interesting trend when it comes to bonus experience requirements. Just going ahead and checking. Alright, bonus experience. Where is it? I'm checking Serenade's... Oh, and of course you did that. Where is it? We're at, Wait, okay then? So, the turn limit for maximum bonus experience is 20 in this chapter. They really overcompensated for, like, I think they were like, okay, so obviously the Crimean Knights are going to be very low leveled at this point, so let's just give them a lot of turns to compensate. But 20? Really? 20 turns? That's kind of crazy. But after this chapter, yeah, after this chapter, every single turn bonus in the game, except for 4-3, is going to be 10 turns. It's just a funny trend that I saw when looking through the Serenade's Forest bonus experience requirements. I knew that it happened soonish, but I didn't realize that it was around now. But yeah, so This is the last chapter for a long time that is going to be worth anything other than 10 turns of bonus experience. Sadly, Marshall's getting a ton of speed and not much else. And you know what? You have a vulnerary. Except you have both a spear and the critical +5 skill, so there's still a risk that Marsha could... That's actually a pretty high risk, although you have to hit with a 30 and then critical with a 9%, so it's actually a pretty low risk. Yeah, Silver is probably more consistent here. I'm gonna go for this, although there's a chance my biorhythm could change. And I got it in 1, because of course I did. In fact, I think that means that I can just safely whack this guy now. Because, really, there's no further reason to stay in this chapter. I think there is a coin somewhere, but who cares about that? So, yeah, at this point, I don't think there's much reason for me to even stay in this chapter. Let's just finish off the boss and not risk that very low chance of Marsha being criticaled. I was hoping that I could at least get 1 kill for Makalov, but that's fine. Makalov doesn't really deserve it anyway. But can you at least critical something? No. And you missed entirely. Yeah, Makalov, obviously, if this was a test of whether I used you or not, you failed miserably. So Joffrey does have special boss dialogue, but I kind of like Kieran to get the kill. Well, mostly because I don't want Joffrey to level up here. That might be not a bad idea. I don't like using up the Brave Lance, though, but I could go ahead and do that. Really? Well, you've lost your chance at negotiation. And lost your chance at ever impressing me. Alright, so there and now I think Kieran will just finish him off. Exactly enough damage, too. And the award for most generic boss dialogue of this game goes to this guy who is now dead. That was a lot of experience, though. Not a good level up, but that's fine. Kieran actually leveled up more than I expected him to in this chapter. That could be a problem, but like I said before the chapter, Gallia are our allies. I can trust Gallia to help us. Also, yeah, so if you didn't get the Spirit Dust with Marsha, this is your one and only chance to get it. You have to Canto into the space behind Rourke, and then you get one shot at it. But thankfully I got the Spirit Dust with Marsha. I'm getting really lucky with treasure so far. So yeah, even though 2 of the villages have scorched roofs, they're still worth full bonus experience. And yeah, let me just reiterate that if you leave a village on fire for a really long time, it will burn down eventually. And I still find it hilarious that I had no idea that could happen until I tested it out of curiosity. That really shows just how likely that is to happen in regular gameplay. It's about 5 turns before they burn down. Is it really safe for Alincia to be coming out this far? Well, Zelgius might, but I doubt Valtome will. Valtome, like the other senators, is kind of an idiot. Oh no, he's here in person. This is really, really bad. Like, I feel like she's probably thinking, I sincerely regret having to meet it all. It is interesting to see the perspective of a power in this war that wants to remain neutral. No, you were the ones who attacked us first and started raiding our villages. And technically, Crimea isn't even part of Bednion anymore. Stop acting like it is. And yeah, Alincia just shows how strong she is in this scene. And there's that creepy ventriloquism laugh again. Again, there are no crimes. We're not part of you anymore. Oh, of course you're after this. I think he only just realized Zelgius was here, then he was like, oh, yeah, yep, I'm gone. He might be stupid, but he's not suffering from Hans and Iago threaten Corrin while the Norian siblings are within earshot syndrome. Hopefully you can keep Valtome in check. Well, I guess this is the downside of being neutral. We won't be able to do anything to stop them. So Alincia has to make a choice here. She either lets them pass through and basically gives them permission to invade Gallia, or fights them and essentially declares war on Bednion. And Cyclops. No, in fact, now I think about it, that's probably more likely to be a perceive. So yeah, every house that is not on fire at the end of the chapter is worth a ton of bonus experience, and yeah, look at that, that's a lot of bonus experience, and weirdly enough, the Crimean Knights will never get a chance to spend that. Because next chapter, some interesting stuff is gonna happen. So, I'll see you then. Like I said, this chapter was kind of just a stepping stone for the next one to happen.